Every truly memorable campaign, every slogan that just sticks in your head, all those brilliant marketing strategies, they all started as just one idea, right? Often a really elusive one.
Yeah,
But what's the actual secret? How do people consistently conjure up those, aha moments? It's kind of the big question for anyone doing creative work.
It really is.
So today we're doing a deep dive into some really insightful material, mainly looking at the Creative Alchemist's Guide to Marketing Ideas, to sort of unpack where these ideas come from, but maybe more importantly, how you can find a way, like a system, to generate your own.
And that's spot on. That's our mission for this deep dive. We want to pull back the curtain a bit on idea generation.
Right.
Because it's really far less about waiting for some lightning bolt, some genius moment.
Yeah.
And much more about intentional, structured creativity. And what's fascinating right from the get-go, and something our source really hammers home, is that truly original ideas, they're surprisingly rare. Yeah, and believe it or not, understanding that fact is actually, well, it's pretty liberating for the creative process.
Okay.
So we're going to walk through some actionable steps, like straight from the guide to move you past just hoping for inspiration.
Right, waiting for it to strike.
Exactly. And into a space where you're, actively creating the conditions for it to happen.
Okay, let's get into that. The guide says, before you even start brainstorming, you need to kind of anchor your thinking first. Set the stage, almost, like not just random sketching. What does that anchoring phase really look like for someone searching for those big ideas?
It's all about building a really solid foundation. And the guide pushes us, beyond just the usual demographics. First off, you need to know your audience so deeply, like understand their unmet emotional needs.
Emotional needs, okay.
Yeah.
Not just clicks and likes.
Right. What actually triggers their attention? What's that unique psychological hook that makes them stop scrolling?
Yeah.
It means digging into their daily habits, what genuinely earns their trust, what makes them share something, and absolutely, what truly makes them feel something. Without that level of empathy, your ideas, they're just kind of intellectual exercises.
Yeah, I can see that. It's so easy to get lost in the what and forget the who. Okay, so once you get that emotional landscape, you then have to define a really precise goal, right? What kind of clarity does the guide push for there?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Clarity is key. The guide talks about something it calls a cascading objective matrix. Sounds fancy, but it's not just about saying raise awareness or drive clicks.
No.
It's making sure your smaller campaign goals line up perfectly with the big picture brand objectives.
Okay.
Are you really aiming for deep, long-term loyalty? Or is this more about a quick, maybe fleeting viral moment? The source is really clear, that kind of granular clarity. It leads to much stronger, more focused ideas. And ultimately, ideas you can actually measure.
Right.
It forces you to think hard about the why behind every single creative choice.
And then, crucially, once you got that clear objective, the guide brings up something interesting, often missed. What's already out there in the ecosystem? How does it suggest we sort of audit what exists without just getting buried in information?
Well, what's fascinating here is the guide really emphasizes observation, but not just of your direct competitors.
Okay.
It means looking across the whole cultural landscape. What has your brand tried recently that worked or, well, totally flopped? And why?
Learn from mistakes, too.
Exactly. And what trends are working in seemingly totally unrelated industries. This isn't just basic competitive analysis. It's about understanding the current attention economy. Real inspiration, this source argues, often sprouts from really keen, broad observation.
So audience deep dive, clear goals, checking the ecosystem, and then finally, before the idea itself pops up, the guide insists you need to pick your playground, platform-specific thinking. Why is that so critical before the idea is even fully baked?
Because the medium isn't just delivering the message, it kind of sets the mood, right? The guide really highlights that an idea has to speak the platform's native language, its inherent energy.
Native language, I like that.
Yeah, an idea that's destined for TikTok, with its super fast visual storytelling and meme culture. It needs a totally different conceptual DNA than one designed for a huge static billboard.
Right, completely different vibe.
Totally. The guide actually mentions a specific brand example. They tried to basically shoehorn a TikTok trend into a LinkedIn campaign.
Oh, I can imagine how that went.
Yeah, it was a spectacular fail, apparently. It really just hammers home that need for platform idea alignment from the start.
That's a perfect illustration. Okay, so once you've laid all that essential groundwork, the audience goal, ecosystem, platform. The next big challenge is turning maybe a good idea into something truly memorable, something unique even. And this is where the guide introduces this powerful idea. Original doesn't always mean totally brand new. It means new in your context. So how do you find that freshness if true originality is, like you said, so rare?
That is the absolute key. The source shows that the path to uniqueness often comes through a really clever remix.
The remix. Okay.
Yeah. One really powerful method is just to change the format. Think about it. Take a really dry, maybe boring corporate FAQ.
We've all seen those.
Right. And turn it into, say, a hilarious short-form meme series. Or maybe make a TikTok video that directly answers a super common Google search query about your product, but inject it with humor and personality.
Okay. So taking something familiar.
Exactly. And presenting it in a completely different, unexpected way that just grabs attention.
That makes total sense. It's like a pattern interrupt. What other techniques does the guide suggest for this kind of contextual originality?
Another really effective one is to flip the perspective completely.
Flip the perspective. How so?
Like, what if your product suddenly had a voice, telling its own story from its point of view? Or what if your customer's dog gave its opinion on your latest dog food or whatever?
Yeah.
This kind of unexpected viewpoint can be incredibly captivating because it just breaks the usual narrative rules.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It forces a completely fresh angle. And then the guide also talks about zooming in, right? Can you elaborate on that one?
Yes, exactly. Hyper-specific stories resonate much more deeply than vague, general stuff.
Okay.
Find the human angle.
Yeah.
That small, maybe seemingly insignificant detail that makes an idea feel real, relatable. So instead of just saying, our product helps people, you say something like, our product helps Sarah finally get a full night's sleep before her big presentation. Specificity adds soul, you know.
Specificity adds soul. I like that. And wrapping up this section on originality, the guide brings in leveraging your brand voice. How does having a unique tone transform an otherwise standard idea?
Well, a strong, consistent brand voice can make even a common idea feel entirely new and distinctively yours. Are you witty, irreverent? Are you more serene and reassuring? Maybe a little wonderfully weird? Whatever it is, own that unique personality. And the guide wraps this part up really nicely with two simple but pretty powerful questions to ask yourself about your idea. Would I stop scrolling for this? And would I remember this tomorrow?
Those are great gut checks.
Definitely, your internal reality check.
So this whole idea of context-specific originality, it leads us to a really fascinating question lots of marketers grapple with. How much can we actually borrow from what's already working out there? The guide suggests you can copy, but you have to do it smartly. What does that sort of nuanced approach look like?
Right, and this is where it gets interesting. It's about understanding that critical difference between, outright plagiarism and just borrowing a structure.
Yeah. Okay.
The guide basically advises, copy the skeleton, not the skin. Look at the type of content that's working well, maybe a specific tutorial format or a day-in-the-life narrative style. And then apply your unique voice, your message, your content to that proven structure. It's really about leveraging a successful framework, not just ripping off the content itself.
And let's be super clear here. The guide is very, very firm on where the line is between smart inspiration and, well, theft.
Oh, absolutely. Unequivocally clear. The source states flat out, do not plagiarize.
Right.
Stealing visuals, specific slogans, core creative concepts. It can seriously damage your brand's reputation, alienate your audience, and frankly, open you up to some pretty serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's a line you just don't cross.
You don't. It completely undermines the trust you're trying so hard to build.
Okay, so instead of direct copying, how does the guide suggest we really leverage the momentum of things that are already trending?
The focus should be on remixing trends into your specific niche.
Remixing again.
Yeah. Think about taking a viral audio clip or a popular video format and using it as a sort of vehicle to deliver your original brand message. The best marketers, they get inspired by what's resonating culturally, right? But they're never just purely imitative. They observe, they adapt, and then they infuse their own unique perspective. They turn someone else's momentum into a springboard for their own unique story.
That makes sense. Okay, shifting gears slightly, the guide really highlights social media as this incredible goldmine, not just for distribution, but for real-time insights. It's like having a massive, constantly running focus group, isn't it?
Exactly, it's right there. And one really smart move the guide recommends is to follow creators outside your immediate niche.
Very interesting. Why outside?
because great ideas often cross-pollinate in really unexpected ways. Imagine a fitness trend sparking a brilliantly creative idea for a real estate ad. Or maybe a quirky unboxing video gives you an amazing angle for a B2B tech campaign. It's about seeing patterns and potential applications beyond the obvious echo chamber.
And this next one seems so basic, but maybe easily overlooked. Actually paying attention to comment sections? What's the real value there?
Oh, it's huge. People often say exactly what they think in comments. It's unfiltered, raw feedback. Real talk.
Yeah, no corporate speak there usually.
Not usually. You can use their reactions, their frustrations, their delight, their questions to truly shape your message. You might uncover a pain point you didn't even realize existed, or even find the exact language that resonates more authentically with your audience. It's just invaluable qualitative data right there for the taking.
Wow. Okay, beyond just the content itself, the guide also suggests tracking formats. What does that actually mean, and why is tracking the format important?
It's about dissecting how people are structuring their stories, not just what they're saying.
Okay, the how.
Yeah. Is it like a three-part hook structure they're using? Is it a behind-the-scenes reveal? Is it one of those stitched reaction videos where you directly respond to or build on someone else's content? The guide emphasizes using engagement analytics here. Really look at the data. Dissect the exact timing of a hook. Look at the drop-off rate after a specific type of reveal. Understanding these sort of micro moments of narrative construction, it's just as valuable as the core content itself.
That's a really deep level of analysis. And finally, for this section, the guide talks about creating a digital swipe file. Why is organizing all this inspiration so important?
Because inspiration is great, but good inspiration needs to be organized and easy to access when you need it.
Right, otherwise it just disappears into the ether.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Screenshots of ads that actually made you pause, saved posts that made you genuinely laugh, pinned comments that revealed some hidden truth. All these become your personal creative library. So when you hit a wall and need a spark, you're not starting from absolute zero. You're drawing from this curated well of stuff that you know is effective.
Okay, so if we tie all this together now, the guide offers this really compelling framework for making an idea actually stick. It says it meets contrast, emotion, and a compelling story. They even give a simple but pretty powerful formula for memorability.
Yeah, this is where it gets really strategic. It starts, according to the guide, with a surprise. Something unexpected, maybe an unexpected hook, a jarring visual, or even a counterintuitive claim to grab attention.
Okay, surprise first.
Then you anchor it with truth. You ground that surprise firmly in your audience's actual reality, their experiences. Make it relatable.
Got it. Surprise, then truth. And then you infuse it with emotion, right?
Exactly. And it can be anything: humor, vulnerability, genuine pride, maybe even subtle intrigue. You pick a feeling that resonates deeply and authentically with your brand and audience.
Emotion is key. And
finally, you end with a twist. Or maybe a powerful, fresh insight. You want to leave them with something genuinely memorable, like a new lens to look at an old problem. And what's often overlooked here, and the guide really underscores this, is that memorability isn't about being the loudest. It's not about volume.
Right.
It's about emotional precision, hitting that specific chord that really resonates.
They give some brilliant, almost counterintuitive examples too, like a brand using ASMR, those super quiet, calming sounds.
Yeah, the whispering tapping.
To explain complex analytics data. Or a luxury perfume ad that's filmed like a gritty, true crime documentary.
That's unexpected.
Right, or just a minimalist video that captures a totally real, unscripted reaction to opening a package. It's all about these unexpected yet emotionally precise connections. It makes you wonder, though, what's the biggest mistake brands make when they try to inject surprise into their ideas?
That's a good question. Often, I think it's confusing genuine surprise with just shock value.
Ah, okay. There's a difference.
Big difference. The guide makes it really clear.
Yeah.
True surprise, the kind that actually helps memorability, isn't about being controversial just for the sake of it. It's about delivering the unexpected in a way that still feels organic and authentic to the brand itself. It should provide that delightful aha moment, not just a jolt or an eye roll.
Right. Okay, so this entire deep dive, it really seems to reinforce that core insight. Generating really impactful marketing ideas, it doesn't start with trying to be clever first.
No.
It fundamentally starts with deep, intentional listening, really listening to your audience, listening to the broader cultural currents, and listening to those subtle shifts in how people are actually consuming content, the formats.
Absolutely. And just to reinforce those final thoughts from our source material, actively cultivate curiosity in everything. Be relentlessly observant of the world around you. Don't be afraid to remix ideas freely, drawing inspiration from literally anywhere. Always try to add depth. Add that emotional resonance to what you create. And maybe, kind of surprisingly, the guide suggests don't be afraid of softness or simplicity.
Right. Sometimes quiet is powerful.
Exactly. Sometimes the quietest ideas actually make the loudest impact in the long run.
So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, the listener, thinking about your next big idea? The guide ultimately concludes that the best ideas, well, they're the ones that truly resonate, not necessarily just the ones that happen to be trending right now.
That resonance is key.
So as you think about what you're going to create next, really consider, what does resonance actually mean for your specific audience? How can you make sure your idea connects on that deeper, more emotional level with them? Something that goes beyond just fleeting attention.
Yeah.
The challenge maybe is to stay open, stay ambient, aware of what's around you, and stay intentional in your creative process. It's definitely a journey, right? Not just a destination. And those most compelling ideas, they're often found in the most unexpected places.